Somewhere in Tanzania, 1.8 million years ago, a human reached for a stone tool. We don't know their name. We don't know their face. But we know which hand they used. And it was the same hand you just used to pick up your phone. 10% of people used the other hand. That number has never changed. Not in ancient Rome, not in medieval Japan, not today. Every society tried to force left-handers to switch. Schools punished it. Churches condemned it. Parents tied the left hand behind their child's back. The 10% never moved. Evolution doesn't keep accidents around for 1.8 million years. Left-handedness isn't a flaw that got missed. It's a feature with a purpose. And that purpose changes how you see the species you belong to. Your hand was chosen before you left the womb. Most people assume handedness develops in childhood. It doesn't. The decision was already made before you were born. At 15 weeks of pregnancy, fetuses start sucking their thumb. Researchers tracked this with ultrasound across hundreds of pregnancies. Roughly 90% chose the right thumb, not because of anything their parents did, not because of how they were positioned. The preference showed up before the brain was even fully formed. A follow-up study tracked those same children to ages 10 and 12. Every single child who sucked their right thumb in the womb became right-handed. Not most, every one. For left thumb suckers, 2 out of 3 became left-handed. No teacher, no pencil grip, no world outside that womb. The preference was already set. Your brain has 2 sides, left and right. They look almost identical, but run completely different operations. Your left side handles language, logic, and precise hand control. Your right side handles spatial awareness, emotion, and big-picture thinking. Each side controls the opposite half of your body. Left brain fires the right hand, right brain fires the left. In 90% of humans, the left side dominates. Language and fine hand control share the same neighborhood in the left brain. Talking and moving precisely, both on the same side. Your dominant hand isn't something you developed. It's your dominant brain side made visible every time you reach for something. The evidence is 1.8 million years old, and it came from teeth. No cameras, no written records, no cave paintings from that far back, just fossils. So how do scientists know which hand ancient humans used? Scratch marks on teeth. Early humans used their teeth as a third hand. They'd grip raw animal hide between their front teeth and one hand, pulling it tight. Then they'd scrape it clean with a stone tool held in the other hand. The tool occasionally slipped and scratched the front teeth. The direction of that scratch reveals which hand held the tool. Scratches running upper left to lower right, right-handed, upper right to lower left, left-handed. Researchers analyzed a fossil called OH65, an upper jaw found in Tanzania's Olduvai Gorge. Age, 1.8 million years. Species, Homo habilis. The scratches ran from upper left to lower right, right-handed. Then came more. Homo heidelbergensis teeth from Spain, over 400,000 years old. Same scratch direction. Neanderthal arm bones from Croatia. Right arm consistently thicker than the left. More use, more force, more repetition on that side. 3 different human species across hundreds of thousands of years. All predominantly right-handed. No schools, no design tools, no cultural pressure of any kind. Right-hand dominance was the biological default before civilization began. No single gene controls this. 41 do. People assume one gene decides your dominant hand. There is no such gene. Scientists searched for decades. They never found it. Then researchers combined data from the UK Biobank, 23andMe, and the International Handedness Consortium. Over 1.5 million people. The largest handedness study ever run. They found 41 separate regions of the genome linked to left-handedness. Not one. 41. Most of these regions connect to how the brain physically organizes itself during fetal development. Several link to the internal scaffolding that shapes brain cells as they grow. The same regions also overlap genetically with differences in language processing and certain psychiatric conditions. That connection isn't random. Brain architecture and hand preference are built by the same developmental process. Same biology, different output. One more thing that genetics can't fully explain. In 20 to 25% of identical twin pairs, one twin ends up right-handed and the other left-handed. Same DNA, different dominant hand. Two people who started as one cell, split in the same womb, fed by the same blood. One reached left, one reached right. Something in the environment during development, chemical signals, hormone levels, positioning, tips the balance differently every time. Same blueprint, different outcome. Your handedness wasn't decided by one thing. It was the result of dozens of small genetic nudges landing on a single, unrepeatable moment. How the right hand won for the whole species. So why did almost every human end up right-handed? Two forces ran at the same time, and they fed each other. The first was tool use. Around 2.5 million years ago, early humans started making stone tools. Flaking rock into sharp edges requires controlled, precise pressure. One hand stabilizes, the other strikes. The brain region for fine motor control sits in the left hemisphere, the same hemisphere where language lives in most people. Language and hand control ended up on the same side. Whether language drove right-hand preference or the other way around, scientists still debate. What's certain? The two are deeply linked, and both ended up left hemisphere dominant. The second force was cooperation. Picture two people building a shelter. One reaches left, the other reaches right. Every handoff is slightly off. Every shared grip needs adjustment. Now multiply that across a hunting group of 30 people. Tools passed between hands, coordinated strikes, shared techniques passed down over generations. A species-wide hand preference removed all that friction. Same grip, same mechanics, same trained instincts across the whole group. Right-handedness didn't just make individuals more efficient, it made groups faster, more coordinated, and deadlier as a unit. In early human survival, the group was everything. The right hand won because it helped everyone, not just the individual. Left-handers survived because they were dangerous. Right-handedness had a massive group advantage. So why didn't left-handedness disappear? Because left-handers had one thing right-handers could never fully train against. 9 out of 10 fighters in human history were right-handed. That means almost every hour of combat training was against right-handed opponents. Defensive instincts were calibrated for attacks from the right. Reaction timing was tuned to that specific angle. A left-hander stepped in and everything inverted. The attack came from the wrong side. The defensive reflex fired a fraction too late. Years of trained muscle memory became a liability in a real fight. Researchers from the University of Montpellier tested this across 8 isolated human populations, published in the Proceedings of the Royal Society. They tracked left-handedness rates and violent death rates in each group. The Diaoula people of Burkina Faso, one of the most peaceful populations studied, almost no recorded violence. Left-handers, 3.4% of the population. The Yanomami people of Venezuela, one of the most conflict-heavy groups on record, chronic, sustained violence across generations. Left-handers, 22.6% of the population, 6 times the difference, across completely isolated societies with no contact. The pattern held in every population they measured. More conflict leads to more survival advantage, for unpredictability leads to more left-handers. And it still runs today. Left-handed athletes dominate boxing, baseball, fencing, and tennis, way beyond what their share of the population should produce. The edge only appears in face-to-face sports, where you're reading another person in real time. Darts, gymnastics, swimming, no left-hand advantage at all. The benefit is specifically about being unreadable to another human. That number didn't land at 1 in 10 by accident. If left-handers became half the population, the advantage disappears. Right-handers would train against both sides equally. Evolution stabilized left-handedness at roughly 1 in 10. rare enough to stay unpredictable, common enough to keep surviving. Every tool, road, and alphabet was built for one hand. The right-hand default didn't stay in the body. It shaped everything humans ever built around them. Western table settings put the knife and spoon on the right, always. Standard scissors, guitars, can openers, rifle triggers, all right-hand default. Medieval castle staircases spiral clockwise. Defenders at the top could swing their right sword arm freely. Attackers climbing up had their right arm pinned by the center column. The architecture itself was a tactical weapon against left-handers. Writing direction follows the same logic. The Phoenician alphabet was carved into stone. Chisel in the left hand, hammer in the right. Hammering right to left was physically easier. Hebrew and Arabic still read that way today. Chinese characters developed on narrow bamboo strips, written top to bottom, unrolled right to left. Every major writing system moves in the direction a right hand naturally worked. Despite all of it, that 1 in 10 never shrank. American schools through the mid-1900s physically restrained left-handed children to force them to switch. The Latin word for left is sinister. The French gauche means clumsy. Centuries of punishment, centuries of cultural pressure. People forced to switch reverted automatically under stress. The hand you reach with first when you're tired, not thinking, half asleep, that hand is set. No training rewrites it permanently. Biology ignored every override. What your hand is still doing to your brain right now. Your hand preference was built for a world that no longer exists. Right-handers carry a brain optimized for group coordination and tool precision, skills that built civilization, but rarely decide survival today. Left-handers carry a brain built for combat unpredictability, an edge that once meant life or death, now showing up in different arenas entirely. Left-handers are overrepresented in architecture, music, and visual arts, not because they are more creative, but because when both brain sides share the load for spatial processing, visual information gets handled differently. The wiring produces different strengths. Left-handers also show faster recovery from certain strokes and brain injuries. Language spread across both hemispheres means one side steps in when the other fails. The brain setup that made ancient combat unpredictable becomes a medical advantage 2 million years later. Right-handers built the tools, the roads, the writing systems, the table settings. Left-handers survived as a permanent minority in every civilization that tried to erase them. Your dominant hand isn't a habit. It's a survival blueprint written before your first breath, shaped by language, tool use, cooperation, and pressure that started before our species had a name. That minority held through every civilization, every war, every attempt to force it out. That's not randomness. That's a system older than Homo sapiens. And every time you reach for something without thinking, you're running it too.